It's an autoimmune disease that affects approximately 400,000 people across the United States. Here to talk about it is Dr. Annabella Cardoza from Eli Lilly. Welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Mary.
So what are we talking about? What is this disease?
Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this disease. It is called alopecia areata, and it is an autoimmune disease, not a cosmetic problem, and it causes patchy hair loss in the scalp, sometimes affects as well the face, eyelash, eyebrow, and the whole body when it is very severe. So it really the impact goes beyond the hair loss because it has a downstream effect on psychological burden, emotional, and even social life for people that suffers from it. Therefore, very frequently it's underserved or not totally understood because it's considered just the hair loss. However, when one speaks with the patients highlight their most concern is their image, their consequences of self-isolation and psychological effects, including anxiety and depression. Also, there are no FDA-approved treatments for this condition. Wow. That's why it's very important to focus and have new medicines for these people.
So it's interesting that you say that, Dr. Cardoza. It's an autoimmune disease, and one of the side effects of, is it one autoimmune disease? Are there multiple autoimmune diseases that can have this result of alopecia being a side effect?
This is a disease well characterized. It's one autoimmune disease. However, these patients sometimes have concomitant other autoimmune diseases because they have some predominant to have these diseases, but it is well characterized. And most frequently, one loses patches of hair in the scalp. It can happen very suddenly and very unpredictable. And that's another scary aspect of the disease. One day, a person can have all the hair and then in a week can start to lose huge patches and can become what we call totalis, which is losing all the hair in the scalp, or even universalis, which means you even lose eyelashes, eyebrows, or hair if you are a man. And then it can last for several years even without recovering. And again, there are no cure because it's chronic and autoimmune. And currently there are no approved therapies for this disease, which has been classified even by FDA as one disease that pharmaceutical companies should focus in developing new therapies for these patients.
So before we get into your new research and the results that you have and the sort of great news that we have for these patients, I want to circle back to the psychological effects, because this is not only a medical condition that affects your body, but it's also, as you mentioned, it affects us socially, psychologically. So can you speak to that with, I'm sure you have many patients, many people that have come in and spoken about, and research that supports this.
Absolutely. So what is more frequent about these people, and I have to say it affects young adults and even children. So it's not the old person disease. Most of these patients, of course, they focus on the hair because they lose the hair. But then the immediate second concern, or even most important concern when we talk with these people, is the impact that it has in their image. If one imagines losing the hair, losing our eyebrow and eyelash, they even say, I look at the mirror and I don't recognize myself. It's not my image anymore. It's not my picture. That drives to isolation, anxiety, depression. The National Association of Alopecia Areata made a survey and said that 1/3 of these people even needs to seek psychological support.
Yeah, wow, that must be really difficult when someone says they don't recognize themselves, and sort of the aftermath and the effects of that. But we have some good news. So you share with us what's happening at Eli Lilly.
Absolutely. So at Eli Lilly, we thought this is indeed a huge unmet need for patients and one opportunity if we can have some medicines that could help these patients. Therefore, we started years ago some research with baricitinib, conducted a phase 2 trial that was positive. FDA gave to this medicine breakthrough designation therapy, which means they recognized the need to continue that research. And I'm very pleased to announce that just 1 week ago or so, we saw the first results of the first phase 3 trial. And they were positive, meaning that they provide significant hair regrowth to people with severe. So all the patients said lost at least 50% of their scalp hair, and some of them had lost all their hair. And this first study, which is very encouraging, shows significantly a recovery and a hair regrowth for a big proportion of these people. What we anticipate is if these encouraging results will be replicated in our ongoing second trial, we will initiate discussions with FDA, and we hope baricitinib can become the first medicine approved by FDA to treat this very underserved and devastating disease.
I mean, right, because did you, just circling back, did you say the results showed a 50% hair growth?
No, I said that the patients we studied, all of them had at least 50% loss of hair, and the majority have even more loss. So this included patients with very severe hair growth. Mm-hmm. The goal of the study was that most patients would get to a minimum of 20% hair loss. Why 20%? Because when we interviewed patients, they said, for me to feel better again and feel that the therapy is efficacious, I need to have less than 20% of hair loss, because then I can already get my image. And that was the primary goal and endpoint of this study, which was significantly achieved. And we will share more details of the data very soon in an upcoming medical conference.
That's so interesting, Dr. Porto. And Dr. Porto, so you spoke a little bit about your next steps. You're moving into another clinical trial, which will sort of replicate these results you're hoping, and then moving towards FDA approval. So do you have any time frame of when we can expect this to possibly be on the market?
Yeah, absolutely. So the second trial should be reading very soon. So very soon, hopefully we will have the totality of the data. And if it confirms the first encouraging data we are speaking about, then we will go and plan to submit to FDA, aiming for an approval next year, beginning of next year, if all goes well.
Wow, that's excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this work and for joining us today, Dr. Portos. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on behalf of everybody that worked on this at Lilly, and moreover, on behalf of the patients that we hope we can help.